This'll all be mine?
Everything.
Everything the light touches. What about that shadowy place?
That's beyond our borders. You must never go there, Simba.
But I thought...
People of YouTube, I am your host Ishe Jindu or Zinyati, soon to be Zimbabwe's top real estate agent, as you already know, back again with another video. And last week we finished up on my 3-part series on how to upgrade your property, covering renovating, remodeling and refinishing your property. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you go up in the links above and go check up on that series. But when that series was all said and done, I felt like it was a little bit lacking. Something about the whole equation just didn't feel complete. So when I came back around, watched all 3 videos again, because they're just such high quality, as you know when you watch them, I felt that I focused too much on your property in the sense of just your household, where you live. But when we're talking about it fully, your property consists of 2 elements: your household, where you stay, and your landscaping, the outside of your home. And to fully complete this home upgrading series, I can't just leave it out. So that's exactly how this mini series on upgrading your landscaping came about. Subscribe for real, like this video, share this video, and let's get into it. To start things off right, as I already said, your property, your real estate consists of 2 elements: your household and the outside, your landscaping. My previous 3 videos pretty much covered everything you need to know about renovating your household. This mini-series will be focusing on everything you need to know about upgrading your landscaping. And the best part about it is that pretty much all the variables stay the same. You can renovate, remodel, and refurnish your landscaping, just as you would your household, but it just includes different variables for how exactly you're going to accomplish that. And that's pretty much what we're going to be covering. Depending on the type of property you have, you're most probably going to come across a wide range of ratios between your household and your landscaping for your property. If you're living in an apartment, it might be completely fully household without much of a landscape, if any. And if you're living somewhere wide open and widespread like rural areas or a farm, you're probably going to have a large amount of your property be landscape oriented than household oriented. And if you live in the average suburbs, your property will nearly be balanced out for landscaping and household. So now that you know what your landscape is on your property, let's evaluate from a real estate perspective what landscaping is. Landscaping is the manipulation of your landscape, the outside of your property, either for aesthetic, practical, or economical reasons through the construction, maintenance, and adapting of both hardscaping and softscaping, aka remodel, renovate, and refurnish the outside of your home. So from that definition, there's probably 2 words from what I said that might be a little bit confusing to you, and those are hardscaping and softscaping. And pretty much this regards the 2 elements of the outside of your home, your landscaping, that you'll be manipulating. Hardscaping is anything not alive and man-made that is implemented on your landscape. So imagine benches, patios, swimming pools, tree houses, gazebos, fences, walls, anything that's not alive that you implement in your landscaping is covered under hardscaping. So your paving and your little statue gnomes. On the opposite side of the spectrum, softscaping. And as you've probably already guessed, softscaping is anything natural and alive that's implemented in your landscape. So that's your plants, grass and trees, as well as other things like birds, animals, pests, or beneficial insects. If it's living and it's breathing, that's part of softscaping. And yes, trees are alive, I think. Bringing it back to our definition, now that you understand hardscaping and softscaping, now you're going to be manipulating these 2 aspects for either aesthetic, practical, or economic reasons. Aesthetic reasons are primarily just done to make your property look more appealing. Flowers, watering and mowing the grass, garden statues, things of that sort. They don't necessarily bring in a lot of investment value, and they're not exactly practical by any means to improve traversing your property, but they look nice. After that comes practical reasons, which typically when it comes to landscaping involve making your property more traversable. So picture pavings and driveways, but they can also include things that just make it more convenient to be in your landscaping. So this can involve things like general pest control. And finally, the last reason to be doing your landscaping economic reasons. And this is pretty much influencing your landscaping in the way I've been covering my last 3 previous videos of upgrading your property. You're focusing on improving your property's valuation through influence of your landscaping. And of the 3 reasons, this is pretty much the hardest one to do. Both from those 3 reasons and in the grand scale of upgrading your property, upgrading your household for monetary reasons is easier to do than upgrading your landscaping for monetary reasons. This is because it's difficult to properly narrow down what are the valuable aspects that can improve your property's valuation from the landscaping perspective. So if you're going to renovate your home's landscaping, I highly recommend you do it with a professional, a construction company, a landscaping company, or ask your real estate agent what do high value homes do from a landscaping perspective. With that, you now fully understand the concepts of the landscape and landscaping. Another consideration to keep in mind when you're upgrading your landscaping is that in the same way it is for upgrading your household, upgrading your landscaping also depends on what type of property you have. Are you planning to sell your property or are you planning to rent it out? Because those 2 options can lead to different focal points when it comes to whether you're prioritizing hardscaping or you're prioritizing softscaping. A common rule of thumb is that for rental properties, you want to focus more on hardscaping than softscaping. This is because usually rental tenants don't like to have a lot of work on them, especially when it involves keeping live things. Watering the plants, feeding the animals, mowing the lawn, things like that. So usually when you have a rental property, you want to focus more on hardscaping. Adding gravel gardens, using succulent plants that don't need a lot of maintenance. I'll cover these things in more detail in later videos, but pretty much if you're renting a property, you don't want to have a lot of live things around there. Because down the line, if they're not taking care of them and they want to move out, it's gonna make it less appealing for the next tenant who you're going to want in your property. As I did with the previous upgrading series where I focused on households, leaving you with 3 tidbits of golden information of what you should do when you're refurnishing, remodeling or renovating your home, I'm gonna do the same thing right here and right now for landscaping. But when it comes to landscaping, it's less information on the specific things you need to do and more along the lines of the 3 golden rules of landscaping your property. Starting off with rule number 1, reduce noise and add privacy. No new prospective homeowner wants to feel like their neighbors are just 1 peep away from their windows to see exactly how you live your life. People want to feel like their homes are their sanctums. Nobody gets access unless they're given access. And on an additional note, this also helps if your landscaping isn't exactly the most appealing out there. At least if your landscaping needs a bit of work, make sure that it's only you and your prospective buyers who gets to see it. If your landscaping is a nightmare and it's a nightmare everyone can see, that doesn't help your shots. And on the noise perspective, this is mainly conjoined with the privacy aspect, but mostly only influences properties that are located near main roads or if your neighbors are overly obnoxious. So how you typically have to handle noise and privacy is through hardscaping, particularly your walls and your fences. But you can also influence noise and privacy through softscaping by adding plants such as trees, bamboo, hedges, things along those lines. Though this is often more time consuming and often more expensive because of the investment you'd have to do to transport mature or near maturing trees or to wait for them to grow. So usually you're handling this through hardscaping. Rule number 2, keep the maintenance low and the attraction high. People who are coming to look at your property as a prospective home don't want to come through and feel like this is going to be a second full-time job. If your landscaping is expansive, beautiful, gorgeous, but it's full of delicate flowers, large expansive grass and other delicate plants and animals, people are going to feel that it's going to be a huge investment on their wallets and their time in order to maintain it or keep it suitable. A home is for comfort and convenience, not stress and bonus work. You need to be able to envision that your prospective buyer can handle handling your landscaping. Don't make it look and feel like a full-time job. But on the other hand, to this aspect, you need to make sure your landscaping is highly attractive. And in future videos, I'll handle how exactly you can manipulate your landscaping for maximum results from a value perspective, both through a high ratio of hardscaping and through a high ratio of softscaping. And finally, rule number 3 of landscaping: don't over niche your landscaping. Keep it simple, keep it general. The last thing you want to do before your property hits the market is go overboard with your landscaping. As I lightly mentioned on before, landscaping is probably the hardest thing from a value perspective to invest in. Most of the things you think look nice just look nice, and people will appreciate them but won't be willing to pay over and above for them. So unless your property is located somewhere like the Hamptons, keep the jacuzzi, private sauna, swimming pool and outdoor kitchen in your mind. It's one thing if you're already invested in those for your own needs. It's another thing to think of it as an investment when you're about to put your property on the market. If you don't have it already, it's not worth it to put in right now. They'll add it if they want it. It won't usually add a good ROI on your property, and it might actually turn people away if they feel like they're being charged a premium for something they don't absolutely want. But as I mentioned, in future videos, I'll cover exactly what you should think about renovating and where and when it's actually appropriate to go over and beyond when you're investing in your landscaping. But until then, I've been your host, Ishe Jindu Ozinyati. Subscribe for real, like this video, share this video. ishejindu@ivafrica.com for any business inquiries. As well, just go there to my website, ivafrica.com, read a few blog posts, see what I'm doing. If you're fixed on keeping things visual, go watch another video. Peace until next time.